that I am looking for.
Exactly, and that's what that leads me to. Maybe this is a good segue.
Please,
to how I got involved with not putting on a shirt. That was because after my surgery, when I was in recovery, I contacted Kim. I don't remember if it was I PM'd her or I responded to something on one of these support group sites.
Yeah.
Anyway, we made a connection and we started talking on the phone, and then one thing led to another, and all of a sudden I was invited to join a group chat with a few other wonderful, wonderful women who are now on the board of Not Putting on a Shirt. And we formed a very strong friendship and bond, and now we all work together. And like I said, our goal is to promote optimal surgical outcomes for women who decide to go flat after mastectomy. We also want to be of support to women and providers and provide them with all the necessary resources and information so that a woman, number one, can give informed consent, because that's a big deal for us. That you cannot give informed consent without all the pertinent information. It's just not possible. If you don't know, for example, the risks of breast mound reconstruction, it's hard to make a decision in favor of it. You need to know risks and benefits. And if you don't know that there's a flat option, then there's actually no decision. You're really faced with no decision because their only option is breast mound reconstruction. So we want to make this information available to both patients and providers, and we do, and we have lots of resources. And what else? We also want to make sure that women don't find themselves in a situation of flat denial. So we're supportive in that way. I made some notes. I'm going to cheat.
Go ahead. I'm making some notes as you're talking too.
This is like my oral arguments, you have like your 3 main points that you want to get across to the justices, and there's no way you're not going to have one piece of paper with like 3 bullet points on it, because we're all human and we forget. So let's see. Part of our mission is to also increase accountability of surgeons and institutions so that flat denial doesn't happen. It's not a common occurrence, and I know that Kim could explain the data better than I can, but it does occur, and this is something that is very important to us that we work against and we fight against, because every woman has the right to have, as the National Cancer Institute has recently termed, an aesthetic flat closure, meaning it's not cosmetic. It is a reconstruction of the chest wall according to its natural contour, but in a way that a woman can live with it. And like you indicated, there are some cases that are horrible, and no woman deserves this. And if a woman had reconstruction of the breast mound, no way would she be getting a bad boob job. So women have the right to be healthy and also be happy with the way they look, with the results. So beside the accountability piece, let's see, we collaborate with, as I mentioned, patients and providers, but also other stakeholders. We would like to see the Women's Health and Cancer Rights Act of 1998 amended at some point, because the emphasis there is on the right of a woman to get reconstruction of her breast mound post-mastectomy. And ironically, that piece sort of pushed to the wayside the choice to not reconstruct the breast mounds, but to reconstruct the chest wall. And so so ironically, that used to be the default, and then it flipped over after 1998. But now with
You
all
don't
the-
have a choice. Yeah.
Well, you don't have it. It's not that you don't have a choice, but there are many doctors who don't give their patients the choice. That's the whole problem. They don't give them the information. They don't say, oh, okay, you have choice A, B, and C. They basically say, what kind of boob do you want?
Why do you
And
think
that's
that
not
is?
a choice. I'm sorry?
Why is that the case? They were
I mean,
trained.
I think this is really a social / societal thing. And you've probably heard many women say, my breasts don't define me. But unfortunately, our society doesn't really follow that wisdom. And unfortunately, over how many hundreds and hundreds of years, women are defined by their body parts, by their breasts or by their rear ends or their legs or whatever. And that's a whole other problem that we probably can't counteract because it's on a bedrock of millennia. It's very embedded in our society, but that is part of the problem. And I've heard many stories of women who go to consults and say, I want to go flat. And the doctor says, why would you want to do that? You're going to have psychological problems afterwards. The doctors aren't even impartial. They're extremely partial, which is another problem. Some women, in some cases, I don't have statistics, but some women, when they say they want to go flat, the doctor sends them for a psychological consult.
Wow.
And I think all of this is just symbolic or representative of a bigger underlying problem, that women are not seen as independent agents. We're almost treated like, not almost, we're treated like minors without who aren't competent to give informed consent. This is the line of work that I'm in. I work in mental health litigation. I'm an appellate attorney, and I represent folks whose rights have been restricted, whose fundamental rights have been restricted in terms of liberty, and they're including the right to make decisions and give informed consent. So there's often discussion about a person's capacity to give informed consent. And I feel like there's such a parallel here with women's healthcare in general. I hear just so many tales that make me conclude that in many cases, our society doesn't even consider women to be competent
to make a decision.
And I often wonder if a man's experience when he goes to, his doctor, if he has prostate cancer, is he treated in the same way? If he says, I'm sorry, I don't remember all the terms, but if he says basically, cut it all out, I don't need to, I don't need to be sexually active that way anymore. And the doctors, there are men who have devices, I guess to sort of, change that situation slightly. You can't really change it, but I wonder if doctors say to them, why wouldn't you want to do this? Because if without this, you're not a man.
Right.
I just don't think that those conversations go down that way with a doctor and his male patient, but they do with women patients. And it's very, very troubling. And so I know this was a huge sort of branch off of the beaten path here, but what I wanted to say is this is really the core of our mission, is to empower women, to give them the resources so they can say and also give the resources to the surgeon. So it's totally clear that it's the woman's decision, it's her body, in partnership, of course, with the doctor, because he's the one who's going to be explaining the information and, laying out the landscape, the medical landscape for the woman. But it's her decision. And if she doesn't want to have breasts, she's going to come out of it the same person.
Absolutely.
She just won't have the breasts.